for me, what I realized was obviously getting recorded. So if anyone's scared of that, drop off now. Forever hold your peace.
That's that new alert, right? Recording in progress.
I like that. No, it is a way to systematize when you meet somebody and you have a really good conversation all the way to making money. Okay. And I don't know about a lot of you guys, but when I was a big time agent, when I was a team leader, one of the main things we heard from people was, I mean, how many has happened to you guys before, right? Someone calls and you have a really good conversation with them and their name gets written down on a piece of paper somewhere and they ask you some really good questions. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, you're like, oh my gosh, what happened to that piece of paper? Right? Has that happened to anybody on here before? Okay. Has anyone done contract to close before and epically dropped something through the cracks and your clients had to reach out and ask you about it? And it was something that you absolutely could have gotten in front of and answered that question and provided better service than the other way around, right? Has anyone ever forgot to do something in a contract close process?
Never. I'm perfect.
Yeah, we're all perfect here. All right. If you're newer, right, you will drop things through the cracks, but we're going to show you a system today that is going to help prevent that. And even if something does fall through the cracks, we're going to show you a way today that you can go back and add whatever that item was that was missed so that it never happens again. Okay. So that's opportunities to me is like the heart of all of Command. It's where our compliance is done. It's where our commissions are done, right? Lots of different things. It's where we can see revenue projections. It's where it keeps me motivated on a daily basis because I am sitting there and I'm looking at, how many deals do I have coming up? How many things are active? How many things are under contract? We all go through that flow, right? Of I get really busy. I get something under contract and I'm working on getting that deal closed. And at the same time, I stop lead generating, right? And then all of a sudden I close that deal and it's exciting. Our music is bumping. We go spend some money. And all of a sudden you go like, where's my next deal coming from? And you did not do anything the last couple of weeks to prep on the next deal, okay? So that's this to me is a really amazing visual tool, all right? But two questions here before we get started. One is, are you using opportunities at a high level right now? And if not, what are you here to learn about today? I'd love to hear about what you would like to learn about so we make sure we attack the pieces that you guys are interested in. And two, what is your contract to close process right now? What does that look like? So anybody willing to open up here, jump off of mute. You guys are gonna get tired of hearing me talk because I talk really fast and then you'll just get tired and you'll start falling asleep. So what are some things that are important to you? Why are you here? Why'd you show up today? That's the easiest one.
Well, I'm a brand new agent, and so I'm just really trying to just get familiar with Command and putting all the contacts in and all the different, it's like 1,001 features in Command and different things to do. So I'm just trying to get familiar with it.
Well, I say that the Command is a Vegas buffet. It's overwhelming. You don't even know where to go.
I
think David and I's role is, and that's why I'm really happy that you guys are on this call. We are saying, go get roast beef and potatoes, right? And you can walk right in there and go get it, right? It's not overwhelming because that's the direction. Okay. So I love that, Amor. And you're probably sitting there and as a new agent, I know I did this. I was like, I don't really want to go lead gen because I don't really know what I'm doing. Or if someone says they want to go look at houses or we go under contract, like I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with it at that point, right? There's all this uncertainty. I want to clear that up today, okay? Because we're going to give you some tools that are actually lists of the contract to close process, right? And you can go now right after this call and start inserting them into your pipeline, and it's going to start to put puzzle pieces together for you, okay? So I love that. Thanks so much for chiming in. Who else?
Same thing. I started in January, but I have not been working as a full-time agent. So, I get involved every day in other things. So I need to get familiar with Command.
Perfect.
Because more or less I am lost.
Perfect. Okay. This is, so just hyper focus, right? Don't worry about the million things in Command. I want you guys to really focus on, this, right? I know you guys did smart plans yesterday. The fortune is in the follow-up, right? So we've got to have people organized properly so we know how to communicate with them. So I think these pieces start to really work together at a high level, okay? So let's go ahead and jump into this. And as I pull up my screen, if anyone else had anything else they wanted to share, let me know. All right, let's see here. Where is here it is. Let's pull this up.
So Kyle, you made mention to some lists. So what I did was I put the Facebook file drawer link inside of chat. And when you guys log into that and you go to that Facebook page, and after the class, Kyle's going to talk about building, but here's some examples of a sales pipeline, right, for you guys to use. And there's a George Kelly, which was a larger team that we had, and he shared his. So you can kind of go through there and kind of read through, see what makes sense to you, and start to customize and build your own list. But we wanted to share this so you weren't completely having to start from scratch.
Yeah, and what I did, guys, was go take those lists, go talk to your mentor, go talk to whomever, right, that you're working with. Go to KW Connect and type in onboarding checklists. And I sat there and I just said, what does my checklist look like, right? I've got all these examples. Now let's pull it together for what I'm going to do. All right, so we'll show you how we're going to insert those things today. But a starting point is a good place to be because there's lots of things going on in the transaction. All right, let's get into this a little bit. So we all know over here we have our applets inside of commands, right? And if you press this little button right here, all the names will punch on out until you get familiar with the logos. And we're going to spend 100% of our time today inside of opportunities. Okay, so some of these things like work together, you know, you got to go here and then go to designs, then go to smart plans. This one is we're going to stay in opportunities through the entire class today. All right, so let's go ahead and open up opportunities. And if you want to follow along with me, great. If not, you know, watch the screen and really get the framework of how this works today. And then I really do feel like you'll be able to go and repeat some of these steps or watch the recording a little bit slowed down, but really watch, right? I feel like a lot of people try to do every single click and they miss pieces of it. So, so whatever way works best for you. All right, so this is our opportunity screen. We have a listing pipeline. We have a buyer pipeline, and we have a leasing pipeline, right? So any of the people that we're talking to, let's say I call Letitia and I say, hey, Letitia, just reaching out, just wanted to see if you're interested in buying or selling a house. And she says, hey, we're thinking about selling next year. That to me becomes an opportunity. Okay, so let's define this first because we have contacts and we have leads, right? When does something become an opportunity? When I say become an opportunity, I mean, you see how we have a number 4 right here? So I'm going to create what's called an opportunity that lives underneath of that board, right? So for me, let me define this for you on how I do it. I'm going to be calling my database. I'm going to be reaching out to people. When someone says they are considering buying or selling, investing or leasing in real estate, to me, they go from a lead to an opportunity. Okay. So, hey, Kyle, we're not interested in buying right now, but we're thinking about buying next spring when our child graduates from high school. That's an opportunity for me because I'm going to pull them out of my contact list and onto an opportunity board where I can really focus and come in here today. So here's an example. I'm going on vacation tomorrow for a few days. Okay. I probably won't be pulling up my contacts and going through all my leads tomorrow before I leave. I am going to come to my opportunity checklist though and figure out the hot conversations. Is there anyone I need to touch base with before this weekend starts? Does that make sense? So super hot leads is the way I want you to think about opportunities. And that's when I create them. And they might be a little bit far out and I'll show you how it's set up that way, but just that's the definition I want you to think of, okay? Now, look at my boards here, all right? If you are a business consultant and you are consulting somebody, what are some things that you see? How are you looking at my boards? What's important about some of these numbers that you're looking at? What are your eyes drawn to when we're looking at a board that looks like this?
Appointments?
Okay. What about the appointments?
You don't have any appointments right now in the first line in listings.
Okay. Awesome. What a great observation. Okay. We all know to keep our business running, we've got to be on appointments every single week, right? I've got to be meeting with people on a daily basis if I can do that. So if I look at my listing pipeline there, I've got 4, you know, what I would call super hot leads that might be coming up to list at some point. But guess what? I have no appointment set right now. I have nothing to prep for. I have no CMAs to do. I've got some things under contract. I have some things that are active. But once those things keep moving through the pipeline, you know, I have a 0 there. And so nothing else is moving forward. So guess what I'm doing today? I'm working hard towards trying to get listing appointments and really focusing on that piece of it. What else? What else do you guys see? What about the money? Does anybody see the money? Move your Zoom screen. The video might be over top of the money. You guys see on the far right-hand side over here, it says GCI, potential income, probable income. Do you guys see that? Over here. Okay. What about that is exciting or not exciting to you?
The potential income.
Yeah, potential income, right? I've had conversations with these people, and if I could just close them, that's what my checkbook could look like. That to me fires me up. That's what gets me excited, okay? If I'm really hyper-focused on the result, right, which is a profitable business and taking care of people, I want to see those numbers. Also, if those numbers are low, if those numbers are $0, $1,000, $5,000, right? We don't want any of our agents living under the poverty line. So I need you to get out there and I need to start filling this pipeline with really hot leads, and nothing else matters until that number is high enough for us to start converting on. Okay. What do you guys think is the difference between potential income and probable income?
I am guessing with probably income, you have more possibilities because you already have a customer, a client.
Okay. Would you guys agree that if I've got somebody under contract, the probability of me making that money is much higher? Yes. Right now, lower, but if I had a listing right now on the market, do you have a good chance of making money? Yes. Right? If I have an appointment with somebody about listing their property, do I have a probability I'm going to make more money than if they were just a cold person I haven't met with yet? Yes. Okay. So here's the idea. As you move through the pipeline, the probability goes up. All right. So potential is, hey, if I closed all of these people, this is how much money I could make. Probable is based on where they are in my pipeline and at what stage they're at. This is what I'm really looking at in terms of income. Okay. Of what's left in my listing pipeline. And you can see it there for the listings. You can see that there for the buyers. So look at the difference between my buyer pipeline and my seller pipeline. Okay, so we're in a market right now where a little bit tougher with the buyers, right? But some of you guys are going to be buyer heavy. Your numbers might be reversed a little bit on that aspect of it. Okay, and so just keep that in mind. I really like that visibility there, as well as coming down, to the bottom here. I'm now seeing some numbers, some ratios, right? How much probable income and potential? How much of my business is listing versus buyers? And then what does my activity look like? Is my activity going up? Are things falling? Am I not creating as many opportunities this month as I have in the past? And if so, why, right? What about that is going in the opposite direction, right? I want my trend lines to be moving up. The more opportunities, the better off your business is probably growing, okay? So that's just the dashboard. Now, if you're on a team, you might see a team dashboard. I don't know if you have any team members here, but there's a team dashboard which allows other members of the team to have visibility, okay, to the deals. I'm just a solo agent. So you can see I just have my own pipeline, which is only me. I'm the one that operates that. And we get this question a lot. As we move deals through this pipeline and they get to closed, they wash out, right? Because this is a revenue projection tool. So at the end of the month, when your office does what's called transmittal, anything that you close that month is going to come out of the pipeline, right? We've now made that money, so it's no longer part of the projections. You can always, though, go back up top here to all opportunities, and you can sort and find any of your past opportunities, okay? The pipeline is really active things, right? And then this is where you could come to search for an old opportunity if you need to go back and look at something or grab a document, etc. Does that make sense?
Can I ask a question about that?
Yes, please.
So will they be in the closed section until my MCA does transmittal?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. So when
Just wanted to
transmittal is
clarify.
when transmittal is complete, they wash out and you'll see you've been reset back to zero. So it's not
Okay.
the first of the month. If they transmit
Right.
on the 3rd, right? That's when we're going to see them actually go disappear.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So David and I get the panic call all the time. I've got one that I had and it's gone. It's not gone. I promise you, they're not gone. They are just moved out of the pipeline and they are moved into all opportunities. And notice, guys, there are filters here, just like contacts. So if I want to go look at my closed deals, I can open my filters, go to my closed deals and search a date range. Okay. And I'll be able to find exactly when I'm looking, what opportunities I'm looking for. You don't need to scroll through them all like I would have to here based on what mine looks like. Okay. All right, next thing we're going to do is let's talk about creating an opportunity. All right, so we talked about a little bit about when we do that. Does anyone else have a different opinion on like when you create opportunities yourself, if anyone's creating them, or best practices around this? Okay. So let's say we stick with the definition we kind of gave. Okay, so I'm going to use David as an example today. So I'm calling my database and I reach out and I have a conversation with David. And I say, David, what are you up to? He goes, Kyle, I got this big grill. I need a bigger backyard. I need a bigger deck. We need to sell this house. Okay, great. When are we doing that? We got to do it in the spring, right? Next spring is when we're going to do it because I got too much going on right now. The kids are going summertime, but I just want to let you know we're going to sell this house next spring. Great. That is my trigger that I'm going to come to opportunities and I'm going to click this blue button in the upper right-hand corner that says create opportunity. All right. This screen pops up. And so we're going to add in a little bit of information here and we're going to give this system some information about this opportunity so it shows up in the right spot. The first one is you are going to select your market center. As David mentioned, I'm a part of 7 market centers. That's why you see all of these. You should only see your market center. But if you are a part of 2, this selection is important because this goes to the broker, the MCA of that market center. So we have some agents that are licensed, as an example, in Virginia in one office, PC in Maryland in another. And so this selection is very important when it comes to that. The second thing is, what kind of opportunity is this? Is this a listing, a buyer, a landlord, or a tenant? This decides which pipeline is this opportunity going to go live in, right? All right, well, David said he wants to sell his house. That would be a listing opportunity. Now, what if David said he also wanted to buy a house? Is that one opportunity or is that 2 opportunities? 2. Okay, 2 separate addresses, 2 different contracts, 2 different agency agreements. They are separate transactions, right? You must select this properly, guys, because if you don't, your only option is to delete the opportunity and start again. Now, it takes about 30 seconds, so it's not the end of the world, but please don't skip over this. Make sure you look at what kind of opportunity is this going to be.
Yeah, Kyle, I think that's probably one of the number one things that come up within the opportunities post creation is that, oh, I created the long one. Why can't I need to change it? You have to understand how it registers things on the back end affects it. So it's not a simple process of just, hey, let me just switch this toggle because it's never just one line of code on the back end, right? So thinking through, and I know I get it, you guys are never in a rush. So you always have lots of time to build these things out appropriately and within the proper time frames, right? Obviously I'm being a little bit sarcastic there, but yeah, do take the time. It's like talking to my own kids sometimes doing homework. Do it right the first time. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and redo it again. We don't want you to have to do that.
Great point. The last thing I'll say on that is, and what David said is, you don't really realize it when you first create the opportunity. Here's when you realize it. When you go to the Documents tab in the opportunity to upload your paperwork, if you select listing, it's asking you for all the listing paperwork. That's what the checklist is. Listing agency agreement, right? Deport disclosure signed by your seller. So that's where people notice it, right? You got to make sure you select it properly so that you have the right compliance checklist to help you move forward from there. Next, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to type in David's name. So I'm going to type in David and we'll come in here and there's David Donaldson. So the point here is the precursor to doing this, the contact must be in your system. All right, so you must be able to select them. I would click David here and then David's spouse. Right, if I had them linked, just so you know, would show up automatically over here in this dropdown, Cindy. Or I could go ahead and go in there and add a co-seller. So if David was selling a house with his spouse, right, or a brother or sister, and I don't have them linked in terms of contact records, I could go in there and I could say, you know what, David is actually selling a house with his partner, David Voorhees, right? And so the 2 of them are going to be the 2 people that are going to go on this transaction. Does that make sense? So that's how you add a second person there. If you add in somebody here, their contact information will go over into DocuSign if you guys are DocuSign users. And that way now I have both the seller 1 and the seller 2 with their contact info already in DocuSign, and I don't need to retype that information. That's the point of making sure we're selecting at least the right 2 people here.
Hey, Kyle,
Yes.
if you have the opportunity type as a buyer instead, is that going to say co-buyer or does it just stay the same?
I think it says co-client, actually.
Co-client, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sandra, you're the first person to ever ask me that question in 2 years.
Where's my cookie?
We'll get it out to you, no worries.
The question, what did she ask? I missed it.
right.
With the because he did the listing opportunity, it says co-seller. If he does a buyer, does it say co-buyer, or he said it'll say co-client?
I guess it's co-client, right, David?
Yeah.
We'll see. If not, two cookies. All right,
Hey,
opportunity name. We're gonna leave this here, right? If your MCA, your office has something specific, they want you to name it. That's kind of a market center level. I'm gonna leave it what it's called, David Donaldson listing. And then down here, the only other required field is your potential commission rate. This helps us calculate how much money you could make, right? This is not final. So remember, I haven't even met with David yet, but let's say I charge 3% for my listings, right? This is gonna be your commission only, not total commission. I would put that number in there. In addition to that, I know from doing a CMA on David's house that I think it's $650,000 is what his house is worth. And so I put those two numbers in. That's what creates that probable and potential income as I start to move this forward. Okay. Last thing down here, you can put it into a certain phase and stage. Just keep that in mind. You're going to understand that a little bit more as we go to the next screen. Okay. So you do have an availability to put these things in certain places. Yours is not default set up this way. One of the cool things about opportunities is you can change the name of your stages. And so usually in the cultivate section, it says watch, nurture, hot. Those are the three categories you could put people into. I do it by date. So I changed mine, I edited mine, and I'll show you how to do that, where mine says 2022, 2021, or hot 0 to 3 months. So that's the way that I think about my sellers as they're coming on. David said he's selling next year, so I'm going to put him into 2022, and now I can click create, and that's how I actually create an opportunity. Questions on that? As you get good at this, no exaggeration, that's going to take you about 7 to 10 seconds to complete that task. Right? Very, very quick, very easy to do. So like David said, don't wait to the last second to do that. Now, once I hit create opportunity, it brought me into a detail screen about the opportunity itself. All right, so that's where we just landed right here just a second ago. So now you can see it says David Donaldson listing, and I have all the details about the deal. All right, questions on that at all? Okay. All right, you guys see up top here? I want to point this out. Do you see where it says listing, cultivate, sales pipeline? These are like back buttons. So I'm going to go back to my sales pipeline, and I'm going to show you now that we've created this opportunity, what does this look like? So does anyone notice a difference in my sales pipeline compared to what it looked like just a few seconds ago? What do you see, Amor?
It went from 4 to 5.
Right.
And your potential income definitely went up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now it went up to 101, meaning if I could sell that house, right, I just got an extra 20 grand or so is whatever just came, 18 grand just came into my system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that fires me up, right? Now I got to stay talking to David so I can make that money, right? Make it
Mm-hmm.
real. All right. So as I add these opportunities, my numbers start going up, right? So now I know I've got 5 here, and if a coach or consultant looked at this, they'd know exactly where you are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me show you how this works. I put David into cultivate, right? These 5 are called phases. Cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. We cannot change those. Those are the names of the phases. That's how the market center can look for certain things as where they are in those 5. So those are static. Everybody clear on that? Now I can jump into the pool of cultivate, right? So now I'm going to jump into the pool and I'm going to see, what's going on with these 5 people. And if I click on this, it zooms me into the pipeline. So that's what we're looking at here. Notice up top, we have our same 5 headers: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. And I have a blue line under cultivate, meaning that's the section I'm looking at. Everybody okay? Now, by default, I mentioned you're going to have 3 boards, and by default in command, they say watch, nurture, and hot. Okay, and if you're good with that language and that makes sense to you, that's fine. I'm going to show you in a moment by clicking on this edit stages button up here in the top right corner. We are able to change the name of those boards, or delete boards, or add boards. Okay, I'm good with 3 here. Right. So it's showing me that these are the deals that I have been talking to people about where they've told me that they're thinking about selling in 2022. Okay. And you can see right down here at the bottom, there's the opportunity I just created for David. So there's my David Donaldson listing. Gives me an idea about how much money I can make on that transaction. Okay. You see that? And so now, again, I'm getting ready to go on vacation. These are my hot people. So I'm coming into my opportunities and looking and going, is there anything I need to do for Robert Sharp? Is there anything I need to do for Susan Cook before I leave? Kate Papkin, Isaiah, David, does that make sense? Now, let's say I call these people before I go on vacation and I say, hey, David, just checking in. I'm heading out for a week or so. I know you had mentioned not selling until next year, but I just wanted to keep in touch. And David goes, Kyle, I've got to sell this thing in this summer, right? My kids are transferring to a different school. And so we've got to be settled by the end of the summertime. What do I do now? So how do I, as the agent, how do I handle what I'm looking at here to move him into the right spot?
Does it let you drag it?
It lets you drag it. Exactly.
Oh,
Okay.
that's easy.
So I'm going to take this David Donaldson card right here, and you can see a little hand that I have. I'm able to actually grab this and start to drag it across the screen and drop him into the proper place. Okay, so now I'm going to drop David into his hot 0 to 3 months, and now he's recategorized into the right position. So now David is like white hot. Everybody with me on that? Now, I called David. I said, David, let's meet when you get back from vacation next week. He says, absolutely. Let's go ahead and schedule a meeting for June the 5th. Now, what do? I drag and drop it from the cultivate section. I can just go up to the header. See, I get the little pointer right there, and I can drop this opportunity into appointment, and it disappears now out of my cultivate section. Remember, I had 0 appointments coming up, but now if I click on my upcoming appointments, I now see David is in that category. All right. So if anyone's ever used a Trello board before, that's basically what this is. Right? It's a way to kind of organize the transaction and move them through the transaction. Everybody good on the movement of the cards and how we're moving this through the pipeline left to right? Okay. Let's add the next layer. So the next layer is going to be, we talked about what needs to happen at each one of these positions of the transaction. So if you guys set an appointment with somebody, what are the things that need to be done for you to prepare for that appointment? Give me a couple things that you would need to do before you went over and met with the seller. No wrong answers.
Well, I'm not an agent, but I'm gonna guess like my agents ask for, putting a listing packet together, something along those lines. Is that what you're looking for?
Perfect. Yep. So I need to get together a few things before I go meet with this person, right? I need to do a listing packet. I need to do a CMA, right? Figure out what their home is worth. Okay, all those things. So do you see right here where I have under David, I have a little checklist here that says 0 of 6. Everybody see that? This is the next layer. So this is now where I can go in one time, and I'll show you how to do this, and I can add in my checklist items of what needs to happen when we're getting ready for an appointment. How cool is that? So this is to make sure that you don't miss anything, right? Or that everything has been done that you have to make sure is done. So I come in here and I go, you know what? I sent the pre-listing packet over to David. I checked that off. You see how it now says 1 of 6 complete? Did I send David the welcome email from my team? Yes, I did that. All right, we're gonna go ahead and check that off. When do I want to pull comps when I go meet with David? When do I want to usually pull comps before my appointment? Is that like 3 weeks ahead of time, or is that right before the appointment itself? Right before.
Right before.
Okay, so check this out. You see where it says pull current comps. You see right here where it says set due date. Okay, set it and forget it. Someone said that, right? I think it's like the Roscoe barbecue thing or whatever that thing was called, right? So when do I need to do that? I can open up this calendar and I can say, you know what? Let's go ahead and schedule this to be done on the 4th, right? As a task, because I'm meeting David on the 5th. Isn't that what I said when we're going to meet? So I schedule this for the 4th. I click OK. And now what has that just become in my command system?
A date.
a task.
Yep.
Okay, so you know when you log into Command on the home screen and you have your list of things that need to be done today, that's how this shows up on that list. So now I forget about this. I go enjoy Memorial Day. I'm out and about doing my thing with my family. And on Friday of next week, it's going to pop up on the front of my screen when I first log into Command. It's going to say, due today, pull comps for David Donaldson. It's like having an admin, guys, right? It's like having somebody there backing you up, making sure things are done. If I take a few minutes on the front end to make sure these things are set up. Now, did I send flowers? Did I send COVID addendum? Did I send a box of chocolate? These are just weird things we add in during training classes. I can say we did all those. And now look, now I can see very quickly that 5 of the 6 things are done. Pretty cool. All right, so now I can just kind of click on this if I need to see what hasn't been done and make sure that that one thing is completed. All right, so what happens here is we're going to insert in the checklist one time. And now everyone gets applied that checklist when they get moved into that board. Okay, so everyone that has an upcoming appointment are going to have the same 6 tasks that are required to be done before we go on that appointment to make sure I'm doing the same thing for everybody. I've got a little bit of quality control.
And are those the checklists that David linked earlier?
Exactly.
That are on the.
Yep. So I'm going to show you where we're going to insert them, but that link that David put in is going to give you checklists. So instead of you starting from scratch, we've got some really good resources other agents have shared, and they're broken down just this way. Appointment, schedule appointment, here's the list of things that need to be done. So all you have to do is after this class today is go get those resources and spend a little bit of time putting in those checklist items and anything additional that you like to do. And boom, now you've got your checklist of what needs to occur at that position. In addition to that, let's say David lives and he has a septic system, okay? And so we need to do a pre-inspection on his septic system. I can click on the 5 of 6, and if I scroll down, you'll notice it allows me to add an additional item. So for David, I can add in septic inspection, right? It's not going to be on my generic checklist because not everyone's going to need that. So I don't want to overburden all my other checklists, but I'm going to add that in for David. And now David has 7 things that need to be accomplished, and we've only done 5 of the 7. If you're on a team, you can assign these tasks to team members as well. Okay, so you can set a due date and assign it to a team member, and then we can come back here and just see what's been done rather than having to call somebody and say, hey, did you do this, X, Y, or Z? Questions on the checklist? All right, let me just show this to you. Let's just kind of finish this out a little bit. I'm going to grab this and drag forward, and I might go to like active, right? Same thing. As I go to active, whole list of things that need to be done. So if I scroll down here, I've got 11 things to do to get this ready for the market. Have I dropped off the lockbox, called the sign company? Have I scheduled my stager? Have I ordered my photos? You guys get the point here, okay? The last thing I want to show you is there's a box down the middle here that says client update. Ever see that? Does anyone ever do a lot of work all day long and then their client feels like you've done nothing? Have you ever felt that way? Okay, how cool would it be is if I just completed these tasks, I just went update the client on this deal, update the client on this deal, update the client on this as well. Maybe not everything, right? I don't need to let them know that I ordered the home warranty today, but I ordered the photos. This is the way this works, right? If I want to and I check these off, at the end of the day, David's going to get an email from Command automatically. I don't need to do anything. And it just says, hi, David, on behalf of Kyle Holleran Real Estate, we want to let you know that these tasks were completed today. Dropped off lockbox, right? There's actually a checklist of things that go down that the client receives that has been completed on their behalf today. So there's another automated system that is going to keep your clients in touch with what's going on, and you don't have to communicate with them, right? You are literally checking off these things being done, clicking this box right next to it, and you can actually set some of these up as default. So every time you check it off here, it automatically is a client update, all right? So some really, really cool things about that. All right, so that is the contract to close process and the way that we're moving these things through our pipeline. All right. All right, let's talk about where do we insert the checklists. We've had that question come up a couple times. So once you go and you get that resource that David gave you, where do we actually go back now so we can edit our board names and add in our checklist items? So I mentioned it before. We're looking for this edit stages button up here in the top right-hand corner. Now, this is for active because I'm on the blue, right? The blue line is under active. So if I clicked on edit stages here, it's going to allow me to edit all of the stages underneath of active. So just know that, right? If I want to work on cultivate, I need to click on cultivate first and be in that section. And then I can click edit stages, right? And now will allow me to edit what's going on underneath of cultivate. When I click edit stages under cultivate, this is now what I see. Okay. So again, yours might say, if you're following along with me, or if not, you're going to see yours probably say watch, nurture, pot. Okay. And I actually went in and I just clicked this little pencil icon right here to the far right. And I said edit. Instead of it being watch, I wanted to say 2022. Okay. That's all I did. And that's how I changed the name of it to be watched down to 2022. So I can now come in here and say save. Let's say we start to get to the end of this year and people start telling me not next year, but we're going to sell in 2023, right? Because that's when my kids are graduating college or that's when I'm retiring. So at some point, guys, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a stage and I'm going to call that stage 2023 and I'm going to say done. And now you see I've got a new stage called 2023. Please keep in mind this reads right to left, sorry, left to right. So I need this to be at the very top. So I'm going to move 2023 up top, right? And I'll drop it there. See how I did that? So that's how you can create boards. You can also delete them. So now that I've done that, right? If I just go back here, I'll show you. This is now what it looks like. Now I've got 4 boards. See it? 2023, 2022, 2021. Okay, so that's how I'm creating boards, is by going to edit stages. Now, same thing, a little bit early for me. If someone says they're selling in 2023, I'm going to keep in touch with them, but I'm not making them an opportunity yet, right? A lot of things can change between now and 2 years from now. So let me delete this board. And now we're just back down to our original 3. Last piece of this, right here in the middle, you see a section that says checklist. This is where you're going one time and adding this checklist in for 2022 or 2021. And that way everybody gets that checklist when an opportunity is created. So you're going to take the files that David has posted. You're going to take those and you're going to come in here and you're going to say, okay, if someone were to sell in 2022, what are all the generic things I want to have happen to that person? So I've come in here and I've add to quarterly smart plan, run current CMA and send them an update, set up a task for 1 year out to reach out to them and ask them any sort of update, and then send them a vendor list of people that I've put together that might help get their house ready for sale. Right? So if I set this up one time, everybody that comes into this board is always going to have those 4 things done. And I know they'll be done because I'll be able to see it on each opportunity of how many of these things are checked off.
Hey, Kyle, here's what I love. And just so you guys wonder, like when it comes to training sometimes, I do a lot of trainings. I do a lot of trainings on the same subject. And I sit in on a lot of trainings of same subjects and get to listen to different people. So hearing and seeing some of the things that Kyle's doing, like that 2021 and 2022 was just a different insight and a different way to look at how to utilize the tool, because that's not something that I was doing, right? So you're going to pick up on things and stages and ways that people are utilizing the platforms that may or may not apply to you, but it'll certainly trigger some forethought and how you can use the system. And that was great.
Here's what I do, guys. Thanks, David. I literally, like, this can be exactly the way that you run and operate your business, right? You don't need, that's the cool thing about this. You don't need to plug into what Command has created for you. Now, if you're starting from scratch, they've given you a really nice framework. But in my mind, like, I actually wrote down on a piece of paper, okay, someone calls me and says they're selling next year. What would I need to do to help that person out? Okay, there becomes my task list, right? So I want you to get very literal with this and also make it something that you will follow. Right? Because I don't follow watch, nurture, hot. I don't know what those mean. Other people have them very clearly defined. I just like the date and time works for me. So to David's point there, yeah, dig into more trainings like this because I learned that from somebody else, right? I wasn't doing that to start, but as soon as I saw it, I went, you know what? That's exactly the way that I think about this. And that's the way I want to do it. So great point. All right. So that's how we're going to go through and we're going to set up our checklists for our pipelines. So here's what I tell you to do. This is what I tell my agents to do. You got to chunk this down a little bit. You're not going to go into opportunities probably in one day and go to each one of Cultivate and create the checklist for all 3 of these boards. and then move on to appointment and create all the checklists for these two boards. You get what I'm saying? It's overwhelming. So take one per week and say by the end of next week, I want to have my listing pipeline and all the tasks done for that by this time next Wednesday, next Thursday. The following week, I'm going to make a goal of putting in all my buyer pipeline tasks. Okay. That's how you actually get things done. So break it up into little pieces. Maybe today you go and do cultivate. So you hammer home what we taught today and you kind of learned. So you feel comfortable about having to go back and repeat it. Go enjoy your weekend, come back Tuesday, do appointment and active on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, come in and finish out and upload your checklist for that. If you time block 30 minutes to 45 minutes a day to complete this, this will I know it will make you a lot more money, because now you've actually created a system to put people into to make sure nothing happens. And B, you'll save so much time, right? Because I usually everything's in my head. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, did I do that? Did I call the termite inspection for that property when it's closing tomorrow? Is the underwriter going to ask me today about that termite inspection? If I use this system, I don't need to think about it. I just need to go and look at my tasks and make sure everything's checked off. And if it's checked off, I know that I did it because that's when I checked it off. Everybody clear on how to get into the pipeline, how to edit your boards, how to add checklists. That's the big takeaway I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable going and doing today. Yep. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Exact. Love it. All right. There's also some really great help articles on answers.kw.com. If you just put in there opportunity checklist, if you're the type of person that you want to see it in text step-by-step, go to answers.kw.com and just type in opportunity checklists, and you'll get step-by-step instructions on how to complete this. You can print it out, stick it right next to you, right? If that's the way you like to learn, or go back and watch the recording and pause it at the points in which we are here today and complete those tasks. All right, is anyone like, holy cow, that's a lot of stuff for opportunities? All right, well, here's the great thing / scary thing. This is only half of opportunities, right? This is one part of opportunities. This is the transaction management, the 30,000 foot view of your business, okay? The next part we're gonna dig into in just a little bit here today, we're gonna go over is let's go and dive into the transaction, the opportunity itself, and let's look at the details of the opportunity. Right. So far, we've just looked high level here. So now let's go look at the actual opportunity for David. So where did I end up moving David to? I don't even remember. Does anyone remember where I moved him to? Say it again, Cassandra. I think you're on mute.
I thought you had him in appointments, but I'm looking at that. That's not right. So
Yep. So I think I moved him.
Active.
Yeah, maybe active. Let's go see. I think maybe it was pre-listing. Yep. I go into active and I scroll down. Nope. I think I moved him under contract actually.
Contract.
Nope. Let's go back and find where David is. There he is right there. Okay. So I did move him to active and he's on the market currently. So I expect to have 4 offers and $30,000 over asking price offer for David later today. All right. All right. So check this out. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to click on David Donaldson. I'm actually going to click on the title of the opportunity. And this is going to zoom me in on that deal itself. All right, see that? So now you see the header up here, David Donaldson listing. So everything we see on this screen is about David's deal. I'm out of the pipeline view. I'm out of that view and I'm into a more specific detailed view of this transaction. Now note here, guys, there is a few tabs up top here. There is details, seller profile, documents, offers and commissions, notes, and timeline. All right. While I'm in the general tab, the details tab here, this is where, do you remember when we created the opportunity? I put in sales price and I put in a whole bunch of different numbers. If I need to, I can click this little pencil icon right here next to general information and edit any of that general information. I also find we have people sometimes they're like, Kyle, I don't like the drag and drop aspect of it, right? I just don't like it. I don't want to do it that way. That's fine. You can come into this general section here. And right here, you can see where it says opportunity phase active. I could also move it this way. So if I wanted to move his card from active under contract, instead of dragging and dropping it, I could just go to the drop down and just select it and it'll automatically move in the pipeline to the proper place. Okay, so just general details about the listing. The last one I'll point out here to you guys is this property box right here. Please fill this out. Okay, if you're going to submit a commission request it must be linked to a property. And I just find that if it's a listing, if I go in here and I click this little pencil icon, I start typing in David's address, right? You guys see how the drop down shows up from the USPS? Like all I have to do is just start typing and I get all the addresses show up. I click the address, it autofills everything in, I hit save, and I promise you that will save you aggravation when you go to submit your commission request. Because if you don't do that, you're going to get an error that says like, which property is this attached to? And that's your solution. So just make a habit of entering the property address in if you know what that is yet. And that will avoid that error later on down the line. Okay. Let's hit these tabs here at a high level for the rest of this call here. So I'm going to go to the far right, and then we're going to work our way back actually. Timeline, exactly what it sounds like. Okay, so this is a timeline of everything that has changed with this opportunity. This is very helpful when you're on a team. Okay, so you can see who's done what, right? So if someone changed a status or did something, you can come here to this timeline and go, who did it and when did they do it, right? Just give you a little bit of insight into that. Or if you don't remember doing something, you can come here and it'll show you, timestamp exactly what is going on with the movement of this opportunity. Right, that one to me is pretty easy. The next one over is a great one. These are notes, right? So this is where I can come and I can leave notes, not about David, right? I can leave those in his contact record. I'm not worried about that. I have a place to do that already. This is where I'm leaving notes about the transaction. Okay, so if David all of a sudden starts saying, I don't think you're doing a great job for me, Kyle, and I think I'm going to fire you for due cause, not to scare anybody away. There could be a million reasons why you're keeping notes. Look, I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, call David. Right? And blah, blah, blah. Here's what we talked about, blah, 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 blah. Right? So if this person is starting to say like, hey, this person isn't reaching out to me, this is an awesome place to come and start timestamping everything you're doing and all your interactions with this transaction itself. Right? Because now something happens and I need to give my broker or somebody else a timestamped report of all the times I did reach out to David. He said, I never heard from Kyle. Well, in fact, here's a call log, timestamps of all the times that I did reach out, right? And if you log those things here, you can see it. It's timestamped right over here. I can even filter by it. So pretty cool. Right. Offers and commissions. So let's move back over here. So seller profile. We're going to kind of highly go over this one really fast. This is where if a client has your app or is on your website and they're logged in, there's actually something called a guide. And if you don't know a lot about this, come to the consumer class next week, because they'll be talking about the guide, or go back to one of the recordings and watch that. What that is a way to kind of take you through the transaction where you can say, this is where we are in the transaction.
Consumer would typically be on Monday. However, Monday's a holiday. So what we will do, we will post a recording of a previous consumer class for you guys all to watch. And then we'll have a live one again in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Yep. So that's a really cool part of it. But I just wanted, if you hear guide or where does that work, that's where you can control that. Documents and offers and commissions. These are kind of the two important ones for a lot of people inside of here, because this is how you upload for compliance in most of our market centers now. And this is how you get paid, right? So in documents, this is going to be a little bit different per market center. Everyone has a little bit of a different setup, okay? So pick your checklist type first. So Fairfax is a market center that is licensed in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So I know I'm going to see a listing checklist here, but is it the checklist for which state? Okay, so some of you guys might not have to make this selection here, but I do. So I'll say this is a Virginia listing. Once I select that, here comes my compliance checklists, right? So these are not the actual documents themselves. These are the documents your office is saying you need to upload in order to get client compliance approval. All right, I've got a listed folder. So these are all my agency documents I must turn in when I go meet with David and get ready to list his house. So for our office, I have to put in the listing agreement, the tax record, the property disclosure. So those of you guys who are newer, go check this out. Because if you're wondering like, hey, which documents do I need when I work with a buyer or a seller, go create yourself as an opportunity and you'll be able to look at these lists, right? And it'll give you a couple more of those puzzle pieces of things that you know, this is what I need to get if I'm doing a listing. Right? I come in here, I get a contract on David's house. I go to under contract and I go ahead and click there. This is a new checklist, right? So now I've got a purchase agreement. I've got a fully signed residential property disclosure by all parties. We have a financing addendum now because we're under contract. So there's two compliance events. When you do agency paperwork and that person agrees to have you represent them. And then when you go under contract on a property, whether it's buy, sale, or lease. Okay. We have entire compliance classes, you know, and kind of DocuSign classes that, you know, this could be its own hour class for sure. And same thing, go to answers.kb.com. You can do compliance. They've got recordings on there walking you through this process and what that looks like. And that's a great resource as well. Okay. And then finally, let's just kind of wrap up here with what we're going to cover today. We used to have something called the green sheet. Some of you might have heard of that. Some of you might have no idea what that is, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know what it is. What it is basically when a check comes to the market center, how does the MCA know how to pay that check out? Is there a referral? Is it only you? Is there someone else from your market center that needs to be paid on that? So when you come here to this offers and commissions tab, this is where you are able to add in, right, the details of your offer that you received. And once you add in those details, you can actually go in and manage the commission and go through the aspect of, you know, sorting out that money and making sure you understand what your paycheck's going to look like when it comes to you. Okay. I don't want to go into that because I'll make some of your heads roll off. So we're going to stick to what we kind of covered today. And I would encourage you all, let's go build out our pipeline, right? So that first 50 minutes, 45 minutes we did of the class today, that to me would be your takeaway of what you go accomplish so that this class was worth it, right? If you don't follow up on any of this, I'd rather have you gone and taken a walk and looked at birds and butterflies, right? If you're here and spending an hour, go do the follow-up to this class because that's where it counts, right? All right, 10:55, we got a couple minutes to debrief here. Questions on what we covered? Anything that I could go back over again or that you're thinking about that we could answer for you before we send you off on your holiday weekend?
What will happen if a client, I don't know, is selling two properties at the same time?
Yep, good question. Two opportunities, right? Because it's different
Okay.
compliance, whatever it's going to be. Now let me show you this, which is kind of cool. If I go to David's contact record, it's a great question. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to David Donaldson. I'll start typing his name in. I'll get his profile to show up here. There he is. I click on his name there. One of the tabs of the contact record is opportunities. Okay, Letitia. So if I had two deals with David, I could actually come to his contact record first. I would see both of them, right? And they might be named differently so I could tell them apart. Exactly that though, but if you have an investor or it's a buy side and the list side, so I could come to David's contact record and go, you know what, I need to go work on this deal. And I'd be able to click on it right from in here. It's going to take me right to that detail screen that we were just working off of in terms of compliance, commissions, etc.
Okay.
Final thoughts? David, wrap us up.
Yeah, guys, Kyle, thank you very much. We understand how much is being thrown at you. We talked about the elephant in the room and eating it one bite at a time. Don't let yourself panic. Don't let yourself be overwhelmed. We're not expecting you guys to master this through 2 weeks worth of trainings, right? Focus on contacts. Focus on your lead generation. They will matriculate and become opportunities, right? The checklists themselves will start to be developed over time. Coordinate and work with your PC coaches, your market center tech trainers. Keep asking questions. Continue to be an advocate for yourself and use answers.kw.com and drink a lot of wine. You know, enjoy what's going on here and allow yourself the time to digest and get through this, okay? It's not, you get through any other random, right? It's not a sprint, right? This is business building. So it's worth understanding and it's worth doing right. So keep coming to classes, keep coming practitioners, and then mastery will come over time. All right. As I mentioned, Monday is a holiday, so there is no training on Monday. I will post, or I'll post on the Slack. Oh, sorry. I will post on the Facebook page a reminder and then share a link for a previously recorded consumer class. Work through that. Get with your market center tech trainers if you got follow-up and additional questions on any aspect of things that we've kind of coached you for through here. And we will pick back up again on Tuesdays when we'll actually jump into designs. So with that, we got a couple minutes. Any other questions for us before we break free? All right. Well, have fun, relax, and go sell something.
You guys have a great weekend.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.